right. So, Nicole,
Yes.
when did you get married?
I got married in October of 2014.
And when did you initiate divorce?
The idea of divorce came probably 6 months after the marriage. So the beginning of March 2015, I would say, was when I said something needed to happen.
Did you and your husband have any kids together?
We had one child prior to marriage.
So when you started thinking about getting divorced, how did you think you were going to accomplish the divorce? Did you think you were going to do it on your own with an attorney? Did you think it'd be easy?
I had no idea what I was going to do at first. Thankfully, I knew some women that had went through the process, so I was advised to seek legal aid, and I did at first. I did find a lawyer in the area and seek just basic legal aid on the packet that you purchase from the court. Just basic questions, though. What do I expect and things like that. And then from there, I did everything else. Well, I tried on my own.
What did you think when you first saw the packet of paper from the court?
It's insane. It's a lot to look at, especially just because you have a kid. I mean, most of the paperwork is because of the child, not anything else. And it's overwhelming. There's a lot. It's not very clear what you're supposed to file. It's like a purchase all type deal. So you print up this packet and it's this thick, but what are you supposed to file out of there? It's challenging.
Was your divorce contested, or were you and your husband agreeing on the terms?
At the beginning, we weren't agreeing on the terms. When it came to terms of child support and things like that, I had a hard time getting him to show me his income so that I could properly calculate the child support, and that was an ongoing issue for quite a while, just to be able to get that number alone. But even when he was in agreement, getting the paperwork filed the correct way and everything like that kind of kept coming back at me.
And speaking of the paperwork, tell me about what your experience was like filing papers with the court and trying to get to the finish line.
It's hard because if you're in the clerk and you have paperwork and you ask them a question, they can't really answer it for you. And you'll get one answer from somebody, another answer from somebody, and sometimes they'll file it and stamp it only for you to get a letter back that says, no, it's still not correct, and things like that. So it's pretty frustrating because you can't just get a sound answer if you have a question on something, especially in terms of like serving the other person paperwork. It's, okay, well, do I need to serve this person this, or, is this going to be mailed to so-and-so? And it's very confusing, especially if you don't have any sort of legal background.
What kind of hurdles did you encounter with the courts and the judges? We
were put on a deadline the first time around because there was a lack of response, and I really had no idea that that would ever happen. I thought that, the court would see me, the petitioner, filing to the respondent and sending them paperwork, and I would imagine that they would say, okay, well, here's this person trying, so let's get them in here. But the reality is they also dismiss it, and so they give you a certain amount of time to fix whatever needs to be fixed. But when you call and try and get the help, and okay, well, what am I not doing correctly, you don't get many answers. So ours got dismissed the first time just solely on that. I couldn't meet the deadline. I couldn't file the correct paperwork. I couldn't get the help that I needed.
You couldn't get divorced?
No, could not.
So your case got dismissed, and how long before you refiled?
Another 6 months. I feel like it got dismissed before the holidays of 2015, and so I said to myself that I was going to not stress about refiling and putting more money down because you have to pay each time you file. I just wanted to get through the holidays and everything like that. And to my luck on that end, my ex, who's been coming in and out of state at that time for work, I had announced that he'd be coming back. So I felt like that would be a great time to file again with him in this state, so we didn't have to go through the process of showing him being in another state. So this time around seemed more hopeful because it was easier to get him to sign all the documents immediately. I didn't have to wait for him to go get it notarized. We could do a couple things together, and we filed together, and it seemed to be going smoothly when we did it the second time around, but very quickly got back into the place of getting letters saying that this decree wasn't filled out the right way, and this motion wasn't served the right way, and we're not showing the proper information on this piece of paper. And it gets very aggravating to a point where you just kind of want to just walk away and stop trying.
Did you start wondering if you would ever get divorced?
Yes, I did. I mean, it felt like they didn't, in the parenting class alone that they make you take in the state, they say they want you to reconcile. And while that's really cute, most people aren't going to reconcile. You're getting a divorce for a reason, and if 20 years down the line you reconcile, that's great. But it's not like I was looking to change my mind. But I definitely felt like I wouldn't be able to get it. And then I wouldn't be able to get financial help that I needed for Layla, because I was with somebody that is in and out of the state for work. So daycare and cost of living is constantly fluctuating based on the amount of time I have her.
So your life was somewhat put on hold. You couldn't get remarried if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, and that affects other relationships. I did start dating in that time period, because a matter of 2 years, and that was a stress factor. You'd get a letter in the mail and you'd open it up at home, and this person you're trying to have a relationship with sees you get upset, and it's just like it's like a weight that is just in the room constantly.
It's probably a little awkward too.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm still married, but I want to date you. I mean,
absolutely,
that's a little bit unique.
It is.
And then also child support. You weren't getting any sort of temporary support. You weren't getting regular support.
I wasn't getting regular. I got support, but it wasn't regular. And sometimes it would be regular, and it was awesome, but it was more times than not that it was me like, okay, what are we doing? Daycare is due. And so to be a single parent already, and then to be carrying the load of daycare and clothing and food and everything else you do with the kid, it's just, it gets very expensive.
So when those payments were coming in, that was just when he decided to pay. There was no court order in
No
place.
court order, and those payments actually did go to daycare. I saw a lot of money when he wasn't in the state. But, with that being said, daycare is at its highest. So, I mean, there'd be times where I'd be paying the same amount in rent that I'd be paying in daycare.
No, the two of you had reached an agreement about your parenting schedule. Did you have any problems with that you could have used court help, or were you guys able to work those things out?
Our parenting plan is actually, we're not even technically following it. We're still sticking to the original plan we've had, and it is pretty much 50-50. It's just not what the fine line is. It's, he does have her 3 to 4 nights a week, has her overnight once a week, and I have her the rest. And we do a great job of, if we're in a bind, we ask each other first before asking other people. We don't really have an issue working for Layla.
So you file for the second time because your first divorce petition got dismissed because you didn't follow the rules somehow. You file for the second time, and did you face another dismissal?
No, we faced another letter in the mail, though, saying that, if by this date, and it was May of this year, no, excuse me, January of this year, that we were going to get dismissed in May if we didn't, get it together yet again.
So you did. So you faced a second dismissal.
Yes. But this time it was for completely different reasons, and it just stinks to be so far and still be told that you're not going anywhere.
So at some point you got connected with me,
I did.
Arizona Lawyer Julie LaBenz.
Yes, I had a personal friend recommend you to me, and at first I was like, no, I'm not, I'm very stubborn. I don't want to reach out for help. And I'm not in a financial state for me to be like, well, here's what I can give you. And so I just kept thinking, like, I'll figure it out. I had a friend kind of helping me, but, her knowledge is really no greater than mine. She just knows how to write things down a little more wordy than me. And when I was approached with the idea that I'd be able to get help, I did inquire, because obviously I was eager to see if anything could be done for me.
So think back to our first meeting and the things that we went through. How was I able to help you with the process?
I felt de-stressed instantly. I felt like there was a silver lining again. I felt like, okay, like at least if we get another letter that says this is wrong, at least I'm with somebody that can decipher it for me better and say, okay, we're going to try this option and this option, and that alone just was a weight lifted off my shoulders.
What kind of help did I provide you with?
You provided me with most of the legal help. Every piece of paper I had that I needed deciphered or written in a certain way, you typed up, printed, made sure my copies were in order and everything was ready to go. You even kind of gave me an idea of what to expect, some questions I could ask if I needed to, and that being said, that was when I was filing paperwork and when I finally was able to face the judge, and I was able to go in each time feeling very confident that I wasn't going to get a negative letter back.
Now, I didn't appear with you in court, right?
I did not. I still represented myself. I had a couple notes written down in my folder and was ready to ask them if I needed to, and the rest just kind of took care of itself.
So basically you were able to still finish the process representing yourself, but it was that help from a professional that made you actually get to the finish line.
Absolutely.
Now your case ended in a default decree, is that right?
Yes.
And with the default decree, even without facing any contested divorce or any opposition, was the default still challenging?
Default's challenging because it's just more time. I mean, everything is allotted with time there. When you start the petition alone, that person gets X amount of days to respond. And from there, it's just a waiting game. And so if you have to go into default, it really is more time of waiting. But really, when you're in it and you're just counting down,
And the court set you for a default hearing, right?
They did. I was set for my own default hearing on the day I went in.
And with that hearing, you didn't know, but for, my guidance, that you needed to provide paperwork that day.
Mm-hmm.
The decree to propose to the judge for the judge to sign.
And I didn't know that. And I had that all prepared, and he actually already had prepared it for us, really.
Oh, interesting.
He did. He didn't even take my paperwork. I didn't even have to approach him at the bench. He kind of said, and we're getting this done with today, and changed a couple little things, but went through the entire packet that I had in front of me, and just signed off on it.
Perfect. So you're divorced now.
I'm divorced now.
And if you were to come across somebody at the starting point of the divorce process who is looking to represent themselves, what advice would you have for that person?
Seek help. But, be smart about it. Don't just find somebody that is going to take $100 for an hour of your time and not be fully prepared with every question imaginable, and try and follow the court's guidelines, but they're confusing. But, if you're in the process and doing it on your own, what I do recognize is that if they see you as being the one that's always filing the paperwork and you're completing the courses they require, and everything like that, it should be a smooth process. Hopefully not 2 years.
So I've created an online divorce school to help people through the process, and it includes fill-in-the-blank forms and video tutorials. Based on your time working with me, would you recommend people try the divorce school?
Absolutely, because there's nothing like that around here. If you Google, a divorce lawyer, you're just looking at spending dollars. There's nothing just simple where you can, work at your own pace, and get the questions answered that you need answered, because there's a lot. Every little detail on there has to be perfect, or they're going to send it back to you and tell you to fix it.
All right. Thanks, Nicole.
You're welcome.